Today, an all-star panel of doctors tackle nutrition.
We need carbs.
Dermatology.
A lot of patients don't even realize that acne's covered by your insurance.
OBGYN game changers.
It works. It gives women the power and the control, and that's what I love about it.
The doctors take your most burning and embarrassing questions. Plus, Dr. Ian rolls out his new 20-day challenge.
People love it because they say, my whole family can eat this way. Average weight loss is 10 pounds.
Are these olives still healthy in a martini?
To season
Cheers.
2.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
That's a good whistle. Strong.
Good old friend.
Yes.
Welcome to the show. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Welcome to Pickler Ben. All right. We're starting this show by talking about the Bachelor franchise. Do you watch the show? Do you watch the Bachelor franchise? You don't. Bachelor, Bachelorette, you don't watch either of them.
I have seen it.
So my wife is obsessed with it. She loves it. She got me into it. So we watch it constantly. And my wife works for Good Morning America. So recently, when they were doing, the night of The Bachelor, she had a bunch of friends over.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we're going to watch The Bachelor together. They didn't know this, but she actually invited Colton and a couple other bachelors over to the house. So they surprise all these people that are in our house. They had no idea. So they're all watching. We have video of this right now. They're all watching The Bachelor. Here they go. There comes Colton in our door right there. That's our kitchen. And all the women freak out.
Freaking out.
They go ballistic. So Colton's in there. He's doing his thing. He's handing out roses. So we just moved into this house, so we invited the neighbors. Now we're the coolest people on the neighborhood right now. We are it. We have got our street cred. So Colton's in there, and then eventually Nick Vial comes in, and all these other previous bachelors come in.
I don't know.
And I'm looking at I know, right?
Oh.
There he is. He comes in there too. They're all coming in. I know, it's crazy. And that's my kitchen. So I'm watching this, and I'm seeing all these guys, and I'm seeing the surprise, and I'm seeing the energy, and it's so wonderful. And all I can think of is these guys have their shoes on my rug. That's all I can think of the entire time.
Right.
It's like, you're going to someone's house.
They didn't take their shoes off.
You take your
That's
shoes off when you go
do.
into somebody's house. That's the first rule.
You really do.
It's the first rule. And so I have two sons that I talked about on the show. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And my 3-year-old Adrian was there, and he was very excited. It's kind of. So they were like, oh, yeah, it'd be so funny if we took a picture of all the bachelors, and maybe they could hold Adrian. Unfortunately, Adrian wasn't too keen on them. Here's the actual picture of that's Adrian right there. So cute, so cute. And that's Nick.
He was not happy about that.
But I do want to tell you about
on?
the gentleman holding him right now is named Nick. And he's kind of a notorious character on the Bachelor franchise because he can't find love, and he was kind of a villain at one point. Now everybody likes him.
He's been on a bunch of times?
Right, so he can't find love. And now we know why he's not great with kids. And it's
Oh.
and I talked to Adrian afterwards, and I'm like, buddy, why'd you cry when Nick carried you? And he goes, he was too tall. So he's afraid of heights, just like me.
Oh my gosh.
Daddy, yeah.
He's so sweet.
So you got to come over, and we'll watch The Bachelor.
Well, I'm short, so he loves me.
He loves you. He adores you.
And Kellie.
And Kellie.
All right, moving on. We're all about getting healthy this hour.
We've got some of the best doctors in the country here to answer your most important health questions. General physician and New York Times bestselling author, Dr. Ian Smith is in the house.
OBGYN to the stars and women's health expert, Dr. Sherry Ross.
Yes. Along with New York City dermatologist and cosmetic surgeon, Dr. Michelle Henry. I have some questions for her.
I know what it is. But first, we came across a great story of an unlikely friendship we wanted to share.
Meet Henry and Baloo. Henry, a Shepherd Husky boxer mix, was a rescue dog living with his humans, Cynthia and Andre. He had severe separation anxiety and panic when they'd leave the house. Cynthia and Andre decided he needed a buddy. That's where Baloo, a Siamese mixed kitty orphaned by his mother, came into the picture. Baloo had a nervous disposition too. He was very dependent and needed to be held to calm down. So Cynthia had a wild idea. She placed Baloo on top of Henry. Baloo bear-hugged his head, and the rest is history. Henry embraced his new brother, literally. And in no time, all of their anxieties were gone. This perfect pair is now inseparable. On hikes, in the car, or even for a swim. These two are best buds forever. I love it. That's awesome.
Joining us from their home in Denver, say hello to Henry, Baloo, and their human, Cynthia.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Sweet.
I'm a little disappointed that the cat's not on the dog's head. I'm sorry. That was the cutest thing ever. That was so funny.
Sweet.
You say that Baloo and Henry help each other, right?
Yeah, you guys kind of touch base on the video, but Baloo's mother abandoned the litter and he really needed a mom, and Henry has separation anxiety, so I didn't know that they were gonna bond the way that they did so quickly. I mean, it happened within just a couple hours of us bringing Baloo home. So it did not take very long at all for them just to realize that they needed each other.
Tell us about their personalities. How are they different?
So Henry is very high energy, very stoic, very intelligent, and Baloo's the one who's laid back and just goes with the flow and wants endless snuggles. And Henry's wants to, do 20 miles on the trail.
Can you separate them, or do they have to be together at all times? Looks like he's wearing a toupee.
They're together. Yeah, they're together most of the time, actually. We can separate them, but Henry especially, because his separation anxiety, Baloo helps him so much with.
Right.
Henry struggles when Baloo's, not around. Oh, buddy, come here. Henry, hi. There you go.
Sweet.
You say that Baloo thinks that Henry is his mother?
Yes. So within just, I'd say, 5 hours, Baloo started kneading Henry's tummy and looking for a teat to suck. Henry didn't really know what to think of it at first.
Oh, my God.
That is sweet.
It's so cute.
Now, Baloo and Henry have become Instagram stars. They are famous. How did that happen?
So I took 3 years to build up Henry's account to 30,000 followers, just showing everyone his adventures. And then once we got Baloo, I think October of 2017, it just took off. We grew over 1 million followers in about a year. And I mean, we still can't believe that people recognize Henry and Baloo on the streets. We kind of forget
The paparazzi
sometimes.
are just chasing them everywhere.
No, not the paparazzi, the paparazzi.
Paparazzi.
Oh, paparazzi, that's even better, thank you. What do you hope people take away from Henry and Baloo's unlikely friendship?
I really love the fact that they're unconditional love. Cats and dogs aren't really supposed to bond. They're supposed to hate each other. And I think it really shows that, it doesn't matter who you are, that, you can find a really good friend.
That's really sweet.
Well, thank you, Cynthia, Henry, and Baloo.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all. I love stories like this.
Thank you, guys. After the break, Dr. Ian Smith is here with a clean eating plan he says will transform your body in less than a month.
Back in a moment. Our next guest has literally helped hundreds of thousands of people lose weight and curb their sugar cravings.
He's a physician, a #1 New York Times bestselling author, and a television personality.
His latest book, The Clean 20, 20 Foods, 20 Days, Total Transformation, is a simple plan for regular folks who want to change how they look and feel.
Please welcome Dr. Ian Smith.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
We are happy
Thank you for being here.
What is The Clean 20?
So the Clean 20 basically is a layman's way of being able to eat clean. People hear clean eating, they think it's going to be expensive, it's going to be difficult, food's not going to taste well.
Just explain what clean eating is.
Yes, clean eating means eating foods that are less processed. So eating foods that are closer to how they come out of the ground or off the tree.
Real
So
food.
yeah, real foods, that's right. Cutting off all the middle manufacturing, processing, adding synthetic ingredients, preservatives, dyes, you name it, artificial sweeteners. And so what I want to do is create a program that the average person can follow, not break the bank, and that the whole family can enjoy. So the Clean 20 says 20 foods. There's a list of 20 foods, but you can really have more than 20 foods if you want, as long as they come from this list. And it's a flexible program because you get to choose your list based on this long list of foods that are potential candidates. And the idea is you're just going to eat clean for 20 days. The average weight loss in 20 days is 10 pounds.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
And what I tell people, it's not a diet per se, but the reason why people lose weight is because they don't realize that processed foods can actually disrupt your hormonal system. They're called endocrine disruptors. And so they actually cause you to gain weight or prevent you from losing weight. So that's what the Clean 20 is. It's a fun, easy program.
Processed foods are the enemy. Mind you, they're the best tasting things on the planet.
I mean, it's crazy. And so in the Clean 20, we had 1,000 people on Facebook who did it first before I released the book. And one thing they kept saying was, after about 4 or 5 days, they didn't want to go back to eating that way. In fact, one woman posted in our group, and it's so funny, she went back to eat a bag of chips. And she said she was sick for 2 days.
Right.
Because her system had totally evolved, had totally changed, and had opened up and became cleaner. And so your body just rejects all that junk.
Right. It's like a real tomato, like an organic, real tomato. You will never go back to the other stuff.
That's right. People think that healthy means it can't be tasty, and that's wrong.
Right.
Right? Tasty, it's all about how you spice your food, the kind of herbs you put in there. And so I want people to realize that when you're eating on a Clean 20 type of plan, you're eating regular food, by the way. You don't have to go to a gourmet store to get these foods. It's a regular, like I said, I write my books for the everyday person who doesn't have a big budget. And so you can do this, and people love it because they say, my whole family can eat this way. It's not just like the parents eat one way and the kids eat another way. Everyone can eat like that way together.
Let's bring out the snacks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Ian's plan includes snacks in between meals, and he brought along 3 that anyone can make.
Yes.
Cool.
What do we have here?
So we have some olives stuffed with some blue cheese, which is really, really filling, and this is a serving size that you would get.
Wonderful.
One of my favorite, my kids love this, are watermelon, feta, and cucumbers.
Nice.
Yes.
So there's protein in there, but it's mostly water, so it's not a lot of calories. Most of the calories in the book, the snacks are 150 or less, which is a proper snack, by the way. And then we have some egg salad, which is good. You have some protein in there. We use, in the book, there's a recipe for some clean mayonnaise, so it teaches you how to make
Clean mayonnaise.
Clean mayonnaise. So you guys can try some of these, but remember, I love snacks, and people unfortunately snack the wrong way. A snack is a bridge between meals. It's not a meal.
It's not a meal.
That's right.
It's not a meal replacement.
That's right, it's not a meal replacement. And so people will eat like 600 calories for a snack. No. And so in the book, I give you snacks that have protein, fiber, and it makes you feel full longer. And that's really the key. And also crunch, by the way. Studies have shown, we're not sure why, but studies have shown that crunch is an appetite suppressant. So if you're looking for a snack that will keep the hunger pangs away, go for things like carrots, celery, dip it in some red pepper hummus or some organic nut butter. Those kind of things will keep you full a lot longer.
Right. I think price is a deterrent for people too, because they go to the grocery
That's
store.
That's good, by the way. I love that.
And they want to eat clean. They want to eat healthy. They want to eat organic. But you know, when you go organic, you jack up the price $1 or $2, so it's a lot. So you get chicken that's like level 3 chicken.
Yes.
Like the chicken had a house in Boca Raton before they killed it. But it's $4 more than the other chicken that was in a cage somewhere. You know, it's like awful, but it's the truth.
Can I just say you're very funny, by the way?
Thank you, yeah.
I've never laughed so much on the show, but you're funny.
Thank
But listen,
you.
I got to say this. Organic, everything does not need to be organic, by the way. We've gotten to this craze about organic. Yes, organic is more expensive because of how it's farmed. But really, it's the dirty dozen. Things you are not going to be eating the skin of does not need to be organic.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're eating the skin of apples, cucumbers, watermelon doesn't need to be organic because guess what? You don't eat the skin of a watermelon.
Interesting.
Right.
Or an orange, or a banana. But as far as the meats and the fish, it's not about being organic, it's about being hormone-free, preservative-free, antibiotic-free, all these kind of things. You want to eat those as clean as possible.
You know, it's so important, the foods that you put in your body, even though it's an investment, which you should invest in your body, your health, it saves you money down the road with health.
Right.
With your bills, medical bills.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's about weighing the cost benefit.
Priorities.
It's priorities.
Right.
In your body and your life, there's nothing to me personally, more precious than how long I can live and how well I can live, you know, to be the best I can be. And so I agree with you 100%.
All right, thank you.
All right, so my wife comes home every week with a new thing. There's the keto, there's the paleo, and now she's doing intermittent fasting.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, I love intermittent fasting. In fact, my new book is going to be called Clean and Lean, and it's the combination of clean eating, meeting intermittent fasting, so you're combining it, the two. IF, or intermittent fasting, simply means that you're putting your body every day through periods of fasting. And by that, you're not consuming anything except for water, but no calories. And the reason why you're doing that is because you're trying to get your body to drive into your fat stores to take energy out, rather than
safe?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Done properly, yes. Fasting and starving are two different things, right? Fasting is a regulated, you're fasting when you go to sleep. You're not eating anything, so that's really fasting too. But the idea behind intermittent fasting is you want your body to drive into your fat stores, use the fat for energy, rather than using the sugar or the recent calories you just consumed. And that's why it's so effective. So you're really going into your fat stores so people lose weight, they look different, and they feel better. Now, the key, however, is during your feeding period. So there's a feeding period. Let's say, for example, you may say, my feeding period is going to be from 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 at night. Then I do my fast until 10 the next morning. During your eating period, people think that you should eat whatever you want. And that is not the case. You still have to be mindful of portions, of calories, of eating cleaner foods. And you want to make sure you distribute those calories throughout the day because you are going to be fasting, and you make sure you have enough energy in there to withstand the fast.
Good for your digestive, too. Kind of give it a break.
Sometimes our digestive systems are overworked. And we really, not just our digestive systems, but our liver.
Right.
The liver is overworked. And so the liver is what's helping us detoxify. But if we're bombarding it with alcohol, with drugs, with all these types of foods and processed ingredients, we need to give it a break. And so that's what clean eating does. It gives your body a break, allows you to clean out a little bit and feel good.
Awesome.
Wonderful. All right, Dr. Ian's book, The Clean 20, is available now. And audience, you're all going home with a copy.
Dr. Ian is sticking around. Next up, an all-star panel of doctors answer your most burning and embarrassing medical questions.
Nothing is off limits. Back in a moment.
Today we have assembled an all-star panel of the very best medical experts to tackle your most burning and embarrassing medical questions. It's time for my favorite game, Ask a Doctor Anything. Anything at all. The greatest game ever for hypochondriacs like myself.
Right. Dr. Ian Smith is back, joining you on this award-winning OBGYN and the author of the best-selling book, Sheology, Dr. Sherry Ross. And dermatologist and cosmetic surgeon to the stars, Dr. Michelle Henry.
Hello, guys. So, Dr. Michelle,
Yes.
let me ask you this. As a dermatologist, is the #1 question you get, is this poppable?
You're absolutely right. Nowadays,
Is it?
is. And probably the second most common is, why am I 45 years old and still having acne? So
Right,
adult
yeah.
acne is probably the biggest concern in my
Right.
office.
So you get more acne or like mole questions than you do like, is Botox, like, you know, like more health questions more so than like, you know, cosmetic or
You know,
anything.
I practice on the island of Manhattan, so it's probably evenly mixed. So I have a lot of cosmetic questions. Can I Botox this? Can I Botox this? Can I Botox this? So lots of that, but a lot of questions about acne, a lot of questions about skin cancers. That's a big question.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Dr. Sherry, are there questions that women should be asking their doctors?
Well, the most common really are around hormonal imbalance and what can you do naturally to help make hormones not so crazy and disruptive. And we, of course, look at diet and exercise. And the latest is looking into endocrine disruptors, things like alcohol and dairy and gluten and sugar and soy. They can really create horrible imbalance.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it good to try to maintain hormones, or just let the hormones run free like your kids?
Well, yeah, we try to control them, and that's the goal.
Yeah.
And we try to do it in the most simple and natural way.
Okay, cool. And Dr. Ian, you specialize in healthy eating. What's a way to cut cravings?
Yeah, you know, 3 things. First of all, don't allow yourself to get too hungry because people tend to crave more when they're really, really hungry.
Yeah.
Secondly is to eat more protein, which is very helpful, and to drink actually more water. Sometimes people think that they're hungry and they're really thirsty, so they confuse the two impulses, so drink more water. But lastly, also, stay away. If you are a person who you realize you can't just have a scoop of ice cream or, you know, a couple of cookies, you got to stay away from it.
Just cold turkey, just cut it out.
Don't even break the seal.
That's so hard.
Don't bring it in the house.
It's so hard to do that. But I find that water is the key to everything. What is the proper amount of water per day that someone, is it half your weight in ounces? That's what I heard.
Well, there are all these different formulas these days. And when I was in medical school, for example, I asked my renal professor, physiologist, I asked him, why do they come with 8 glasses of water? And his answer was astounding. He said to me, and this guy wrote the book, they made the number up. It wasn't really substantiated. Now we realize that the number is 6 to 8 cups of water a day based on how much you are losing over the course of the day. Some people lose more than others, but between 6 and 8. But in the beginning, that number was really just 8 cups of water a day. And he said there was no real scientific basis for it, but now they've kind of backed into it.
We have a personal question, what we're going through right now. Is there a cure for the common cold? Is there anything you could do for the cold?
Yeah, if there were a cure for the common cold, we would be, you know, trillionaires.
Trillionaires, I know. What can you do to help it? Is there something natural you can do to help a cold?
Well, for me, I believe in treating the symptoms. So, you know, things like zinc or echinacea. When you the key is starting when you first start getting the symptoms early, right?
Yeah.
So you can't cure the cold as a virus, so you can't cure a virus per se, but you can reduce the symptoms or the longevity of the symptoms. And, you know, that is water, that is using saline flushes in your nose, you know, so those kind of things. Tea is great.
Green tea,
Warm.
antioxidants. Are
Rest.
good.
Rest. Yes,
Rest.
it's all about.
Rest is important.
Hydrate.
What is that? All right, we asked our viewers and studio audience for their most pressing medical questions. Our first question is for Dr. Sherry. From Mary in Huntsville, Alabama, she wrote, I've had 3 children, and now I pee whenever I sneeze and laugh. How can I make this stop?
Well, Mary is in good company because 50% of women pee in their pants. It's very common, especially after having babies. But there are things you can do to help it. Kegel muscle exercises are the holy grail.
Right.
Those, if you can do those, strengthen your pelvic floor, that's going to be helpful. Avoid things like caffeine, alcohol, artificial sweeteners, and don't drink a lot of water after dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you just say the Kegel exercises?
Yeah.
Can we spell that so people at home know?
Yeah.
Because they're going to Google it. So.
Yeah, it's Kegel, and the way you find them is you pee, stop the flow for 3 seconds, pee again, and then you are going to stop the flow again, and that's your pelvic floor. That's how you flex it. It's really important to do.
Where's Raven? Hello, Raven. You have a question for Dr. Ian.
Yes. Hi. So I've heard that charcoal is really popular to eat and drink, and so I was wondering if it's actually healthy for you.
Yeah, you know, this charcoal trend has actually been in medicine for a very long time. It's called activated charcoal, and it's used in medicine really as a detoxifier. So if someone has potentially alcohol poisoning or they've taken drugs and they're trying to prevent the absorption of it, they give them charcoal. So charcoal is a great absorber, and you can take it in pill form or you can mix it up in water, okay? But that's the curse also, that it's a great absorber, because it can also not discriminate what it is absorbing. So it could also absorb healthy, good things that you don't want it to absorb. So your vitamins may be absorbed by it. So if you take it in very small quantities, the likelihood of doing damage is not great. But the problem is, if you're not under supervision and you're taking it, you may end up actually being malnourished because you're soaking up all these important nutrients. So you have to be careful. This is a trend. Everyone's doing it. They're putting in ice cream, on pizzas.
Good for your skin, too, I think, right? Isn't it something?
Some people...
Yeah, the charcoal mask.
It's very popular.
Yeah.
And similarly, it can be really drying. It can strip a lot of your natural oils that we need to have a healthy skin barrier and healthy moisture barrier. So it's a conversation I have a lot.
Yeah.
And it's very popular.
And it's not the charcoal you find in your grill.
Yeah, don't take that.
Right?
Don't
This
do
is
that.
like activated charcoal.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, the core of it is actually similar to what you find in your grill, but it's not that. The medicinal quality is not that. They really take coconut shells, they burn it to a crisp, to an ash. But the key is that if you were going to do it, consult a medical professional before you do it, and do, of course, everything in moderation.
Thank you, Raven.
Thank you. All right. Our next question is for Dr. Michelle from Shirley in Albany, Georgia. She asks, my earrings are always falling out of my weak, saggy earlobes. Is there anything I can do about that?
So it's actually a lot that you can do. So the earlobe, if you feel it, it's a lot different from the rest of our ear. So this is really, it's skin and it's kind of fibrous, fatty tissue. We don't have that rigid cartilage.
That cartilage up there,
Exactly. So it's a little bit more vulnerable to trauma and to stress. So when we pierce our ears, if we're wearing light earrings, usually it can maintain its form. But what I call in my office fashionista ears, or fashionista ear piercing sites, it's when they're wearing big, heavy earrings and it starts to pull on that piercing site. And because that tissue is soft, it doesn't reform. It doesn't take back that shape.
That elasticity is
Exactly.
gone.
It's lacking in elasticity. And so the earrings will actually go through the piercing site.
Oof.
And so what we do in the office, there are 2 steps. So there's a surgical procedure where I go in and I cut out that little hole.
Wow.
I stitch it together. It heals beautifully, and then we re-pierce.
Yeah.
But for those who aren't ready for a surgical procedure, we often use dermal fillers. So dermal fillers are gels, and they're made out of hyaluronic acid. And hyaluronic acid is essentially a complex sugar. And so it's very well tolerated. We inject into the ear, and it just kind of squeezes the piercing site together.
Does it hurt?
Oh, wow.
It doesn't hurt. We give really strong topical numbing medications, and everyone can tolerate it. I've not had one patient leave yet. And so it works beautifully. It's temporary. So eventually you'll need to have a surgical procedure if you choose to. But it's a really great kind of intermediate procedure before that.
All right, we have to take a quick little break. We'll be right back.
Hey there, thanks for watching. Want to see more? Go to youtube.com/Pickler Ben to see more videos. Thank y'all so much for watching.
We're back with our all-star panel of doctors. We have another audience question. Where's Miss Lisa? Hello.
So at night, occasionally, or maybe more than occasionally, I like to have a glass of wine or two with my husband. I'm on a new diet where I'm doing the no sugar, no carb. So if I'm drinking a glass of red wine, does that have a lot of sugar in it? Or are there any health benefits?
Yeah, you know, first of all, let me attack a different part of the question, which is this no sugar, no carb thing. You know, carbs are good for you. I mean, we need carbs. In fact, carbs are the #1 source of energy for our brain, for our bodies. It's our fuel, so we need carbs. So I get very concerned when people say no carbs, no sugar. Now, if someone says to me no added sugars, now we're talking business because added sugars have no nutritional value whatsoever.
Like processed sugars.
The processed sugars.
Yeah.
So red wine, of course, is extremely healthy for you, full of antioxidants, has resveratrol, which is very healthy, and good for your heart. Believed to also be good for your bones, believe it or not. Good to boost your immune system. Memory is very good, but also it's the quantity, right? People say a glass of red wine. That means a glass of red wine, which is about 4 ounces. It's not 8 ounces, so we got to be careful.
You don't fill it to the rim?
Not to the rim. But you know, there is a lot of sugar in red wine. But if I had to balance the amount of sugar in red wine and the calories versus the good part, I'm okay with a glass of red wine a day, a night. It's not a problem.
Again, in moderation, though, right?
Moderation.
Yeah. This is the best advice I ever got. Everyone's going to the liquor store right now. And Rochelle, how about, does it affect your skin, red wine?
So it does affect your skin, and so I actually get this question a lot. So a lot of my patients have a condition called rosacea. So patients with rosacea really should avoid red wine because it can trigger it. And rosacea is a chronic inflammatory condition. We typically see it in patients between the ages of 30 to 50. We see it in patients with light skin and light eyes, and you've seen it before. It's someone who is always red. They're always red no matter what they do. They flare with UV light, they flare with different spicy foods, and oftentimes they can tell you their trigger. So it's a very, very common condition, and depending on how severe it is, it can be quite crippling. So it's really important to know what can trigger it. So for rosacea patients, I tell them to stay away as much as they can. And then for your average person out there, one thing about red wine is that it contains alcohol, and that alcohol is a diuretic. So it's going to cause you to potentially cause your skin to become dehydrated. So I typically don't recommend red wine for the skin.
Our next question is for Dr. Sherry from Nicole in our audience. Nicole, where are you? Hi, Nicole. Take it away.
Hi. I'd like to know, what is the best advice you can offer for preventing breast cancer?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. Research definitely shows that diet and lifestyle habits can help prevent your risk for breast cancer, which affects 1 in 8 women. So the first most important thing is to keep your body mass index, keep your weight at in the healthy range. That's going to be the most important thing. Exercise, very important, at least a minimum of 150 minutes a week. Wow. Even 5 hours of brisk walking also helps reduce your risk. Of course, eating a colorful diet with a lot of fruits, veggies, whole grain, reducing your fat content, and of course your dairy. It's really important as well.
Cool. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Well, we're going to have to take just a quick little break, but don't go away.
You know all those questions you're too afraid to ask? Well, our doctor tackling those next.
Don't go away. We're back with our all-star panel of doctors. General physician and clean eating specialist, Dr. Ian Smith, OBGYN and women's health expert, Dr. Sherry Ross, and dermatologist and cosmetic surgeon, Dr. Michelle Henry.
They are all here to answer your most pressing or embarrassing medical questions, as well as ours, because we have a few too.
Absolutely. Dr. Sherry, what are some of the most surprising things you've encountered as a gynecologist?
Probably the most surprising thing women still ask me is, does my vagina look normal?
What's a normal vagina?
That's a good. It doesn't exist.
To each his own, right?
That's right. Well, now there are some women though that do have abnormal shaped labia.
Right.
That could be, 4 inches long, and if they're on the swim team, they might have to tuck it into the vagina. Like that would warrant a vagina that needs some little bit of, nipping and tucking.
Right.
And there are
Labiaplasty,
procedures
right?
for that.
That's right. There are, and they just have to be done responsibly.
Right.
All right. Dr. Michelle, I have a question for you about tanning. Because that's, that's a crazy thing. Everyone's doing it, right? Everyone's doing spray tanning. They say the beds are bad, sprays are good. But how can staining your skin be okay, even if it's natural?
So a lot of them it is okay. A lot of them are water-soluble pigments, tested to make sure that they're hypoallergenic, they're non-comedogenic. And so I am a fan of spray tanning. I have seen far too many melanomas to not. And over the last it's deadly. Over the last 30 years, we've had a significant increase in the incidence of melanoma. We're going to diagnose close to 200,000 this year.
Really?
And over 7,000 deaths are predicted for this year of melanoma.
Crazy.
And so I recommend that patients spray tan. Make sure they're going to a reputable source because people are popping up all over the place. If you're going to a reputable site, if you're using products that have been tested, they're hypoallergenic. The biggest problem I see in my office with these spray tans is allergy. So if someone goes somewhere, we have people who are going to homes and they're kind of like spray tan freelancers, I guess I would call them. And I'm seeing contact allergies from that. So that's a bigger concern. But I think that it is definitely anything we can do to continue adopting sun-safe habits, it's the greatest thing.
And they always talk about suntan lotion, like which suntan lotions don't do anything. Like you get a 50, you're putting it on like you think you're doing a good job, and then it's water pretty much.
Yeah, so what we recommend and what the American Academy of Dermatology recommends is that we use SPF 30 every day. And that's everyone, no matter your skin
type.
When
you're walking to work,
when you're walking to work.
Even driving, like putting it on your hands.
Absolutely.
Your hands are on the wheel, the light's shining through your windshield.
If you have a window in your office.
I can get in my car.
Exactly. Teach others. You have to reapply during the day if you have a window in your office.
Absolutely.
If you're outside for more than an hour, SPF 50.
Wow.
And so there's always controversy about greater than 50. It's not that greater than 50 doesn't work, it's that it hasn't been tested to actually give you more benefit than 50. So right now we're recommending SPF 50. Reapply every 2 hours. Sun-safe structures. We're always campaigning to build those at schools and at recess. It's a big problem.
It's the world we live in now.
There's so many sunscreens now that they have where it's not harmful for the environment.
Exactly. So right now, what I recommend for most patients, zinc, titanium dioxide, those are ingredients that you can count on and depend on and feel comfortable with.
Don't use baby oil.
Don't use baby oil.
I think people are using sunscreen because of such a bad vitamin D deficiency, and that's the main source is through our skin.
Right.
So I think we're using it.
Right. Our next question is for Dr. Sherry. Becca from Chicago wants to know why she gains 5 pounds and is filled with rage the week before her period starts.
PMS, also known as please make it stop, or in her case, pass me my sweat.
Right.
So PMS is a horrible hormonal imbalance that happens a week or two before your period. Very common symptoms: irritability, rage, depression, anxiety, retaining water, gas, bloating, and of course that dreaded weight gain. So
sounds awesome.
It's terrible. But there are things you can do, especially with your diet. And I always tell women, avoid your 4 favorite food groups, which is alcohol, caffeine, sugar, and salt. Also, dairy you want to avoid. It really works well, and you can look at your lifestyle with exercise, getting enough sleep, hydration, and it will pass.
Awesome.
Absolutely. All right. Dr. Michelle, here's a question for you from Caroline in Tulsa. I get Botox every 4 to 5 months. I'm trying to get pregnant, and I want to know if it could be harmful to a baby.
Good question.
So I guess first, Botox is a very safe drug. We've been using it outside of cosmetic reasons for over 30 years. Migraines, certain muscular and nerve conditions that we see in children, even we've been using it for years and years and years. However, it has not been tested on pregnant women or during breastfeeding, so I do not recommend it for that. Not because it's we believe we don't have evidence that it's safe. So I do not inject women that are pregnant, and typically I ask my moms that have been using it for a long time to stop their last treatment in a few months before they start to really start trying.
Yeah, I agree with that. We don't recommend Botox. We do use it for loss of urine, though, as a treatment.
Loss of
for peeing and Mary.
That stimulates it?
No, you can inject Botox by the urethra, and it helps with losing urine.
Oh,
It's such a
With our
versatile
first
drug.
question.
But not during pregnancy.
Isn't it also good people do it so they don't sweat?
Yeah, we do it.
Sweating.
We do it for sweating.
The armpit.
Armpits, the feet, the hands. We inject it for pore size. I inject it for rosacea.
Okay, cool.
Women do inject their vagina with Botox, too, for anti-aging.
I think everything for you relates back to the vagina.
Well, it is her specialty.
Does it all?
Educate.
I know, it all does relate back. Wonderful. Here's a question from John in North Hollywood, California for Dr. Ian. He says, I often catch up on a lot of work when I get home at night and I sit on the couch with my laptop on my lap. My question is, could my laptop make me infertile?
Yeah, you know, this is a good question. So what he's dealing with is whether or not heating up his private areas is actually causing a problem because...
Like a hot tub.
Yes,
I don't
true.
know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the idea is how much heat for how long, and your sperm is very sensitive to heat, actually. And so the question is whether or not he is damaging his sperm's ability to do what it does by putting too much heat. To be very honest with you, I mean, the amount of heat you need and the amount of time you need to do it would be a very, very long time. And it's also transient. It's not something that's gonna, you know, you're not gonna permanently be infertile. So I would say in that particular case, it's not a concern. But there also has been concerned about whether or not you wear briefs and kind of keep everything too close because you're very warm in that area.
Right.
And so people have said that, you know,
Tighty-whities.
tighty whities. But boxers kind of allow you a little more air. And that's
More breathing room.
So that is something to consider. That's not a myth. Is if you do wear tight underwear, then you should maybe go boxer brief. Or
I think you should let it breathe. As Kellie said, let it breathe a little.
Let it breathe. More with our doctors when we come back.
Stay with us. We are back with general physician Dr. Ian Smith, OBGYN Dr. Sherry Ross, and cosmetic surgeon Dr. Michelle Henry.
All right. Here's a question from Jesse in Seattle, Washington. I recently heard someone talking about female condoms. Are they really a thing? Do they work? And would you recommend them? Dr. Sherry, why don't you take this one?
Well, female condoms do exist. You know, condoms are great for preventing sexually transmitted infections, pregnancy, HIV. So the female condom allows the woman to take charge of her own sexual health, which I love. It's also, they're non-latex, they're FDA approved. You know, they're bigger, as you can see, and it's a little bit of a challenge sometimes to put it into the vagina. You have to be very vagina friendly. But it works really well, and it's a great option. I have a patient who loves them, and in that way, she doesn't have to rely on the male partner or even a female partner.
Here's my question. Can I ask a question? So I'm very unfamiliar with female condoms, but what if they move in the wrong way and a guy releases and it doesn't catch, like?
Well, yeah, if you see the photo of it, I mean, it's sort of like a sock that literally goes into the vagina. And there's no way that even if you're in a certain sexual position and you ejaculate, it won't affect it because it's in there and it has a lubrication to it, so it adheres to the vagina in the wall.
Right.
All right. Dr. Michelle, I have a question for you.
Yes.
This is a question that keeps you up at night, and I'm sure it keeps a lot of people up at night because it's scary. And you talked about before, 7,000 people pass away this year. Will pass away this year from melanoma.
Expected to, yeah.
And it's, you know, I'm sure it's about early detection. And you go on and you check your moles, and a lot of people have a lot of moles. I have a lot of moles. Yeah. And you go on and you look online, and it's like, look for this, don't look for this, and you say the A, B, C, D, E's.
Yes.
It's so difficult to do that on your own.
It is hard. And I'll just review the ABCDs quickly. So A is asymmetry, so your mole should be symmetric, so roughly oval or circular. B is the border, nice, smooth, even border. If there are any offshoots, concerning. The color, so the color should be nice and even and brown. Multiple colors, scary. Ink black, scary. Even if you have a mole that turns, let's say, white, you've had it your whole life, it's turning white, that's something called regression, and that's a feature of melanoma, scary.
Wow.
D is the diameter, so it should be smaller than a pencil eraser. And E is evolving or changing. And then my favorite sign is the ugly duckling sign. And so that just means something that doesn't look like you. Our bodies are very boring. We make the same moles again and again and again. And something that doesn't look like you is concerning.
Right.
When we're younger, we can have new moles. The closer we get to 40 and definitely beyond 40, any new mole is concerning to me. So all of my patients know if they get a new mole after 40, I want to see it.
Right.
And so those are things, and utilizing technology is useful. So I will take pictures of my patients' moles with their cell phone, and they can have their spouse, mate, whomever, take a photo, and they can try to compare it. You know, zoom in, see if they're seeing any changes. So those are some ways. It's hard, but those are, you know, if you're committed and you kind of make that investment and check your skin once a month is what we recommend, you can really stay on top of it.
It's terrifying. It really is. I have, here, look. Here's one I got right here. It's kind of like it's a little like a tramp stamp, but it's a mole.
I don't have my dermatoscope in the office. We use a special.
I think it's a tick.
There's so many
Actually,
of them. Don't even joke.
I would continue to watch it, but what I would say about it is that it is a lot of your moles are kind of irregular.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we see that, and that's your signature.
And that's that alone. See, that's something to freak out. You said irregularity.
A lot of them look a little bit atypical, but they look atypical in the same way.
She's saying that could be your norm. Your norm could be that they're irregular.
Yes,
I'm normally irregular.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you do have a lot of moles that are normally irregular, that puts you at a slightly higher risk. So you want to make sure that you're seeing your dermatologist, that we're checking them out just to make sure that it's not your kind of atypical. You'll be fine because you're checking it. But you want to make sure that you're alert.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
We'll
Sorry.
I'll follow up on it.
Yeah. Sorry for the lower back shot. That was weird.
$10,000 bill will come next
I know, right? I know.
She doesn't take
Checking the
insurance.
mail.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Ian Smith, author of The Clean 20, Dr. Sherry Ross, author of Sheology, and Dr. Michelle Henry. Make sure to check out her Instagram.
Yeah, and of course, you should always check in with your own doctor before trying any new medical treatment.
We'll be right back.
A big thank you to all our guests today, and of course to our studio audience. Thank you guys very much.
Yes, thank y'all. For more information on anything we've seen, check out quick-wit.com.
And while we're at it, give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
From our home to yours, y'all have a spectacular day.
Bye.
Guests of Pickler and Ben stay at the beautiful and iconic Gaylord Opryland Resort right here in Nashville.